Cache-maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
I'm the bad cop and doing some sort of Cosby dance here for Daryl W4 and the GC Doc, because this is GeoGearHeads 145. Can you believe our 27th randomized show? Now, I want to let you know there's only 3 more randomized shows left for 2014. That's a whole year, folks. There's only 3 left. And it looks like this one is going to be nothing but topics from you. You see that pregnant pause there? Nothing but topics from you. You, the GeoGearHeads. And because this is a randomized show, are you ready for this? We have a live question, so make sure to have your emails ready. But before we get to that, look at that. Look at that coin. If you're watching this live, that is an incredible coin to win. But before we get to the coin, let's welcome back the GC Doc.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm so happy to be back. I feel honored that I have another chance to come on the show. I have a quick question, though. Since it's live, does that mean I get to partake in this live contest?
No, sorry. You don't get to participate for this lovely live coin. Guests are allowed to participate in the weekly questions, though, since we don't include the answers in the rundown till their answer is in, but not the live drawings.
Bummer. Well, even if I wasn't able to, I don't think I knew the answer to the question, except that it is in the show notes. So,
well, it's also on
in
screen.
the narrow screen.
Yeah, so right now, if you look at the screen and you're watching, it's right there. But yeah, we really do try to make this easy for those watching live only, because if you're not watching live, you're not going to have the chance to get it in before the deadline. So get that email ready, titled Randomize27 to GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com, and get ready for what you'll need in the body. Now, the question and answer are available right now, but remember that this is only open to the live viewers. So if you're listening through the end of the show, make sure to listen through the end of the show if you're doing it live, and that's when we're going to announce who won, and you have to email us before midnight tonight. That's Thursday, October 9th, Eastern Daylight Time, to claim that prize. Now, in that email, include only the answer to the question and your geocaching.com screen name. Do not include your mailing address. We'll get that from the winner in their email to claim the prize once we call who's won. But yeah, it makes it a little tough to go through these emails quick on the show if we've got too much info in there. So please, just the answer and your geocaching.com screen name. That's all we want in this email. Now, since we asked about GLONASS for this week's question, we want to do something about the Chinese Baidu navigation system. Now, the Baidu navigation system is named after the Big Dipper constellation, and translated literally, it means Northern Dipper. So that's it. We want to know what the literal translation of Baidu is. Include that as your answer with your geocaching.com screen name in the body of that email. Send it to GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com, titled Randomize27, and have that to us by 9:40 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 6:40 p.m. or 1:40 a.m. UTC. We'll announce that winner at the end of the show, so make sure to stay through the end to find out who gets this lovely Nocturnal Geocoin from coinsandpins.com.
That is one cool coin.
Won't be me.
Yeah, sorry. Now, wouldn't it be ironic if Baidu was launched from Dubai? Baidu was launched from Dubai. Anyway, that's not what
I've heard it pronounced Baidu. I don't know that that's actually correct, yeah. But that's how I've always heard it pronounced.
I don't know. My Chinese is rusty. Okay, I've never
don't have Chinese.
Now, that GLONASS question threw many of you for a loop, and if you know me, I like to ask a little harder question. It's just the way I am. If you're going to win a prize, you could do a little bit of work. Daryl, he's a nice guy. I'm the bad cop, and that's the way I roll. Now, we asked when GLONASS was made fully available to the public, and that basically refers to when they opened up GLONASS to the public in the same way they opened up the GPS constellation, that's the word I couldn't get out, in the U.S. They turned off selective availability. So, GCDoc, you got that answer right, along with many others. You want to cheat and let everybody know what the right answer is? Did you write that on your hand for the test?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I just was really detailed. I studied really hard, and I figured out what exactly you were asking for. And I knew it because of Wikipedia. Thank goodness for Wikipedia.
Oh, man.
The answer was May 18th, 2007. And a little bit of background on that. In 2006, the defense minister ordered the signals to be made available to civilian users. But it wasn't until Putin actually demanded that the whole system should be fully available, and that was that May 18th date. That's when GLONASS became fully available. So, you know, I think a lot of the issue people ran into, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't fully restored, right? I mean, it wasn't until they launched that 24th satellite, and that was, let me check here, October 2nd, 2011, and that was the first time it was fully restored. And I think you have to have 24 satellites to cover the whole globe. Is that correct? That's my understanding.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah.
So it will work in regions without all 24, but you want all 24 to get that good global coverage. Now, I think everyone who had an answer other than May 18th, 2007 did submit a correct answer with a little hint from, I'm calling him tonight, the good cop, or Daryl.
I think there was actually one who didn't get the right answer in. And this was a little tough with those multiple interpretations of the question and all of the stages that GLONASS has undergone. But that's part of what made this question so interesting, is you got to dig a little bit and hopefully learn something about the alternative geolocation system to the GPS that we're all so familiar with.
And I'm going to relent a little bit. We did promise to have another easier question at the end of this show for next week's prize.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of those questions where we're looking for your input for next week's show. It's about appropriate cache placements with native Texan and wet coaster. Of course, we're going to talk about geocaches, but we're GeoGearHeads. We've got to talk about the extended things like placement of Munsies, ingress portals, all that kind of geolocation stuff that we like to talk about too. But if you're looking to help, or if you're looking to keep up with the scheduled recordings, and we've got a bunch of them up there, check out the geogearheads.com/upcoming, and we have the next 6 weeks posted. Of course, we love your feedback for all those shows, and this episode is mostly from that feedback.
It really is. But, we're getting a little off topic here. And it's only because Daryl does such a good job in scheduling shows that we can talk about what's coming up in the next 6 weeks. That's amazing. He's got more than that scheduled, but we're only talking about the next 6. So, I'm sure people want to know who won the prize pack from coinsandpins.com. So, are you ready? I need a drum roll. That's it. That's all I got. That was Lafitte FL. I feel like I need to say that with a French accent. Lafitte FL. So, congrats.
And I've already emailed asking which of the prizes he wants, and we'll have that out to him as soon as we can. Thanks, everyone who entered, and I hope that you really did enjoy that.
Don't they want all the prizes?
Well, that's the problem, is that everyone wants all the prizes, but you only get to pick one of the coins, 2 of the flag tags, or 3 of the patches.
1, 2, or 3?
Take your pick.
Man, that's a tough call.
Yes.
Now, tonight's discussion, we're going to kick it off with a little audio sent in by a former podcaster and friend of the show.
Hey Daryl, the before and the bad cop. This is XPunkX. I was listening to your latest show on GSAC and wanted to correct the person who was talking there just a little bit. They had mentioned about in GSAC and their log having to split up the fines file so that way they could get the day's number versus the total count. And in the version that I'm using, 8.4.1.78, you can use a day count tag, which gives your total number for today. So you get day count and day total, So you can say like 1 of 3 for the day, and then you can have a run total 2. So you can say, we found 35 on the trip. So just a little bit of help there. You can use the difference between the day and the whole run without having to separate your finds file up. Thanks again.
Well, thank you very much, XPunkX, for sending that in. And I'm not a GSAC expert. He is, and he's actually booked on the show after the first of the year, so you can hear him talk more about GSAC. Did either one of you guys have anything to add, since I think you both actually use GSAC?
I do just a little bit, but I've never done it for logging. So I was pretty interested when I heard of that you can do it for logging. I'll have to check that out.
I have never logged caches through GSAC myself, and to be honest, I'm not a current GSAC user. I'm an old GSAC user.
Ooh, and I find that about half of the people that I actually talk with have not actually upgraded to version 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I've upgraded, and I don't use the product, but I've got it. I have actually used it a few times, but it's one of those. It sits in the Windows PC, which sits in the closet most of the time and doesn't come out. So,
hey,
I do need air. Let the PC out.
If I don't take it out like once a month, I have to wait like 2 days before I can use it to get all the Windows updates downloaded and installed.
Gotta be secure.
You think I'm kidding, but I'm not.
No, I believe you.
Well, if I don't put it online, then what's the point of having GSAC 8?
I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I just know that Windows 7 Service Pack 2 has 158 updates as of today. If you start with Service Pack 2.
Yikes!
It takes a long time to load those suckers.
Well, and to make it worse, it's back. It's syncing the Dropbox, which I've got probably, in a week I probably change something like 300-400 gigs of files in there. It's probably not that bad, but yeah, I'll go through. Let me see. Now I actually want to figure it out. I want to say probably like 5 gigs, and I'm only on a DSL connection here, guys. It's not like I got a whole lot of bandwidth at home. So getting that to sync does take a little bit. Let's move on to email from Jersey Eric, and he asked, I want to delve further into the question of logging your own caches as found. I agree with many of you that under normal circumstances, it isn't cool to log your own cache as found. Adopted caches are a different situation if you found it pre-adoption or adopted the cache site unseen. But what about the situation where 2 people hide the cache, and I am officially the cache owner, but I have it listed myself and another in the CO text? And we'll go on and then come back to answer these questions. Is it generally acceptable if the co-hider, usually listed on the CO hyperlink display text, comes back after the FDF and logs the cache as found? Or should that non-official CO just log a note online to request or to record their visit? Curious what you and your listeners think. So we're going to talk about this a little bit. Anyone in the live chat room, please drop your or the live Q&A, I should say. Please drop your responses in there and let us know what you think. Now, before we get to that, though, we got a couple of pieces that I think we should probably mention for the live viewers. Team Pugash actually likes your little bad cop Lego man.
He noticed it. I just put it up today. It was a gift from Wits End. He was in a store, and it's like twice the size of a normal Lego man. And I was working just before we went on the show. Got to find a spot where I can put it that it can be seen, and because if I put it back here, it's tiny. You'll never notice it. So thank you.
All right.
I like it too.
It is cute. Now you got to figure out a place to move it like every week, and it will become the in thing.
There you go.
But Native Texan actually noticed the 3D printed cache container over my shoulder here.
I thought that was a parrot.
No.
I thought you were a pirate.
No, it's a gnome. It's my gnome, which is a gift from another listener. But we're going to talk about that more in a couple of weeks when we do our 3D printed cache show. All right, so let's get on to the questions about the multiple hiders. Why don't we start with your thoughts, GC Doc?
Yeah, I would say definitely for the non-official cache owner, I think, yeah, it'd be good to wait till the first find, obviously, not go out and find it. And I think they're eligible to definitely log it. Now, with the cache owner, the person that owns the cache, I personally wouldn't log it as a find, even if I hit it with someone else. For adoption, I just actually adopted a cache this summer. It was a 10-stage multi. And this is a cache I hadn't found, and so after I adopted it and went and did all the maintenance, I kind of came through that same realization. Well, do I get to log this as a find? I decided not to log it as a find, just because I had all the information and all the stages, so I didn't feel like that was appropriate at the time.
I agree with that. But if you had gone, you know what, I'm going to go through and I'm going to experience this as any other cacher would, then I'd say go ahead and log it, especially if you hadn't found it and adopted it. Boy, I definitely say that a co-hider should not be FTF. That being said, a co-hider, let me just go back. I'm the bad cop, okay? So I'm going to say no. Co-hiders don't get it. But that's me. That's a tough call. I tend towards no, but I tend a lot of things towards no. So I don't know. I think if you had any involvement in it, you shouldn't go out and find it or claim it.
Yeah, I was going to say that is my position on it as well.
Wait, I made you the good cop today, Daryl.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm going to say. With one exception, if the person is doing the find on their own as like a beta test, then I think there's an exception that can be made there where they can log it as beta test on the cache page once the cache is published. Again, I wouldn't do it before the FTF actually logs on the cache page, but afterward, then I think that's acceptable.
But see, I don't consider a beta test find as a co-owner.
Not usually, but I have run into a couple of times where people have done that, because it's a big nasty puzzle cache, and you're doing this favor to me of being the beta tester. Then I'm going to list you as the co-hider because you helped me troubleshoot. And especially with some of these puzzle caches, it's not hard to get some major problems in there.
Oh, definitely.
I've talked with a couple of people who have tried making those major hides where it takes them 2 or 3 beta testers to find all of the little glitches before they put them out. Now, most of the time, they're just listing them as, thanks to these people for helping me beta test and work out all the glitches. But I have seen at least one that I can remember, though I can't remember who it was, that actually listed them as a co-hider because they felt that they went through that much work that they deserve the credit of being one of the hiders.
Daryl, you have logic there that I have trouble arguing with. So I may have to change my stance just because logic dictates that I should change my stance. However, I'm also German and stubborn. So no, I'm not changing my stance.
Okay. But if you don't change your stance, then your legs are going to get sore.
Oh, I'm sitting.
Oh, well then, fine. Your other part is going to get sore.
Oh.
Yeah. I have a scenario to go along with this that I just thought of.
Is there logic involved?
There's a little bit, not a lot. It just kind of came off my head, so we'll see. There is a hider here in Minnesota who is very close to being the person who has the most geocache hides in the world. And he has just too many caches he can't obviously maintain. So a lot of people, what they'll do is if it's in their area, they'll say, you know what, if there's any maintenance that needs to be done, I'll do it, and he'll add you as the co-owner. That happened to me. There was a cache it was a really old cache. I didn't want to see it go away. It was missing, and I knew where it was supposed to be, and I said, you know what, I'll take maintenance of this cache. I had to place a new container, and then I logged it as a find. So there you go. There's kind of I think a lot of people might not like that, but I wanted to keep this old cache going, and because of that, I'm a co-owner of the cache now.
Okay,
so what are your thoughts?
That's an excellent scenario.
Did you have a clue beyond anything you got on the website as to where this cache was hidden?
It's quite obvious. There is Beyond the website, the page, no, I didn't.
See,
That is
then
quite obvious.
I don't have a problem with that. Hey, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go do maintenance. I've been named the co-owner. That's why I'm going out, and I'm going to log it because this is the first time I've been here.
Yep.
You know, like
To me, that's just like any other finder going and saying, "Hey, I've gone for this cache. I couldn't find it. Can you confirm it was supposed to be here and it's not there with the cache owner?" Okay, yeah, I'll do you a favor and go ahead and replace it. Then yeah, it's still a find. You just went and replaced it, and as a thank you, you got the co-owner slot on that cache.
Or you could say, "Hey, don't put me as co-owner until after I found it." But unlike your multi-cache where you had more details than was available. You know,
Yes.
on the multi-cache, I say no. On this one, I say, yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah, sure, you betcha.
Yeah, sure.
All right, you want to move on to the next one?
I'd love to. One of my friends, Brylang, says, you guys talked about building your own maps on episode 140. Could you elaborate on how you would do that? He goes on to say, I have a Garmin XXVII. I love to use OpenStreetMap for roads and routing. I get those from, we'll put the link in there, http garmin.openstreetmap.nl. At the same time, I use Northwest Trails overlay from switchbacks.com. I also have a topo map layer for Canada purchased from Garmin. And I know you can get topo map data for free online as well. I'd love to compile all of these into a routable map with the trails and topology showing. Any idea how? We'll answer that, but we'll come back. But coming back to it, I ran across a website earlier this year that lets you compile maps together, but didn't bookmark it. I can't seem to find it again. Hopefully you guys know about it and can let me know what it is. I want to build a map to load onto my XXVII that has topography, Northwest Trails, and is routable for driving directions, and I don't want to pay Garmin's inflated extortionate prices for maps when so much of the data is now available for free.
Yeah, now I'm not sure what site he had found, but there is a link that we'll include to how you can create your own custom maps on Garmin devices, which is nothing like what he's talking about. It's a cool tool, though. If you have a trail map from a park or something that you want to put onto your device, it can even be like fun artwork. One of the things, total tangent here, sorry guys. One of the things I keep thinking about with these maps is how cool would it be to take something like a really old map from, I'm going to use the Columbian Exposition in Chicago back in the 1800s. Maybe it was the 1900s actually, but the Columbian Exposition. How cool would it be to take that map and put it on your GPS so that you could walk around looking at the map and say, hey, right now I'm standing in this building from that point. Or let's say you build some little fantasy game for your kids, put a map in there with the dragons and everything else, and they can go exploring the backyard even and do that. So you can have a lot of fun with that, I think, if you go and play with that. But that's not really what he's asking. I would probably suggest for a little bit more on that, on how to actually build these maps and everything. Go back to our show 60, which was the Ontario Trails Project, and Native Penguin talked a lot about that, or Northern Penguin, sorry. Sorry about that, Northern Penguin. He talked a lot about that and how much work is really involved with doing it. So that's probably a good resource.
It is. Now, I can speak from experience that switchbacks or the Northwest Trails will layer on top of the Garmin maps very nicely. You don't have to do anything for that. You just have to load that onto your GPSR, show both of those maps, and you're good to go. OpenStreetMaps, I don't have the experience with.
Well, and it depends a lot on where you get the maps from, what they're going to be like. So that is a good question when you're loading those in, is are they going to work well with my other maps?
Mm-hmm. Will they work and play well with others?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we did actually get a comment in the live Q&A asking if He might be looking for gpsfiledepot.com. And that was from Andy, if I didn't mention that. Can't find his geocaching name real handy, so I apologize for that. But I don't think that's the answer for what Bryling is looking for, because I got the impression that Bryling's looking for something a little bit more in-depth than what GPS File Depot does. And that is a good source, too, so we should probably put that in the show notes.
Definitely. It's a good starting place. It may not be exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth checking out. You might find better maps somewhere else, but it is a good starting place. And I seem to remember them as having some of the best tutorials for how to do some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So if nothing else, it's a good place to start and learn how to do things.
Definitely. Well, and Native Texan says in the Q&A that your idea there, Daryl, of overlaying an old map or a custom or a drawn map is a really neat idea for a Where I Go.
It would, but the Where I Go's don't support the mapping, so it's different. But yeah, I could see doing a Where I Go, and this is one of the things that really excited me about Where I Go when I first heard about it, was going to something like that old trail system and okay. At this spot on this rail trail, there was a depot, and in 1839, there was a derailment, and here's the photos of that. So just another way to get some information to people easily.
But what about?
Of course, I wanted to do it with audio.
Of course you do. What about creating a Where I Go with an optional printable map?
Oh, absolutely. You can certainly do
towards, the dragon.
Yeah.
Now it'll show you, you got to head north, 600 feet, but you could just, have the kids go, okay, we're going towards the dragon. Here we go.
Yeah. Well, and you can always put the map on the screen, but it's not mapping. It's just an image. Yeah. Right. You don't have your position. You don't have where you're going. It's just that position.
Now I want to make a Where I Go.
I've wanted to make a Where I Go, but
I tried one. It was tough.
Yeah,
it took more time than I was willing to commit. It was that tough.
Well, my problem was getting it to actually work correctly on the devices. And Team Pugach actually mentions that Where to would mix geocaching with reenacting. So I think he's proposing a new version of Where I Go that's going to help us out there.
Where to go?
Where it goes for history buff reenactors.
Where they went.
Where they went.
When I go.
Yeah.
When I go.
When did I go?
Where'd they go?
Where did they go?
There you
go. I do have to say that there are some pretty cool apps out there which will give you some history of locations. We've talked about things like, what is it called? Like a Field Trip.
Field Trip.
But there are some other ones I've seen recently that actually will pull some of the databases for geotagged older images, and you can get historic images. So that's very, very, very cool.
Yes.
And Team Pugach also says that he wants to build a choose-your-own-adventure Where I Go very badly, which is kind of exactly what Where I Go is built for. And we have tried to get some people to talk about building Where I Go cartridges on the show and do a whole show on it, but boy, that's tough to do in audio. So I'd love to do a show, but hopefully we will find someone. Don't count on it, though.
I'm going to hold my breath.
It's just too challenging, too difficult.
It is so tough to do, and I really do hope that we can find someone who's willing to try that. But even if we get someone who's really good, I just wonder how much help that's going to be.
That's all I could hold my breath for.
Chris, do you remember when it was that we first started talking about trying to do a Where I Go show?
Well, let's see. That was about Beta 1.
I think we waited a little bit longer than Beta 1.
Maybe Beta 3.
I don't think Where I Go has been, the actual Groundspeak Where I Go has been updated since then either.
No. And, yeah, we had trouble finding anybody that had any decent knowledge of where I go rather than trial and error. So, yeah, it didn't work out.
No, unfortunately not. So we'll hope that we can actually find someone eventually to talk about Where I Go. And we kind of hope that Where I Go will be updated at some point.
And there they went. Oh.
All right. Well, why don't we move on to a voicemail that we received from Team Pugach.
Hey, GeoGearHeads. This is Dano of Team Pugach, calling in to talk about my new puzzle cache called A Cabin in Maine, GC5D116. I believe it's the first of its kind. My reviewer, at least, up here in Maine, didn't know what to do about it, and it took a couple of weeks to get approved because we had a chat with Groundspeak to make sure everything was good. Basically, you go to the website, and on the description page, it tells you that you need to beat a text adventure game. Think of those old-fashioned computer games from the early 80s where you wrote, go west, open drawer, take flashlight, turn on flashlight, use flashlight on dark cave, that kind of thing. So what you do is you're in there and you go through the different rooms. There's 6 of them, and each room has a clue. And one of those the clue would be a number. So, for instance, in the first room, you get the number that goes with the chords. In this case, up here, everything is like 42, and then so forth. And room number 4 would be for the west chord, and it's all in order. So it's pretty easy. After you beat this really fun text adventure game about geocaching, you then go and find the real geocache that I hid out in the woods. So far, everyone who's done it has enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun coming up with something creative and new. I'd love to hear if anyone else is doing something that tech or gadgety like this. Has anyone made apps? Has anyone made other video games that you have to beat to be able to get to the geocache? Well, thanks for listening, and thanks for a great podcast, guys.
That's really cool. Now, I was able to go to the text adventure as he was talking there. I'm not going to play it during the game because I might get distracted, and we don't want that. But I have thought of doing a mystery cache using voicemails. Call in, do a number, and you have to punch in whatever number you figure out from these clues to get the correct voicemail to go on.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them like that. That's kind of one of those old school things. When we first got started geocaching, you'd hear about this really cool system that someone had set up that's all voice prompts and very spy versus spy kind of stuff.
Right.
But if anyone who wants to look that up, it's GC5D116, and we will include the link in the show notes, of course.
Right. Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, go ahead with that.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Thank you. You're very courteous.
The good cop.
He is the good cop tonight. He's using an outside website. It's textadventures.co.uk, where you can go and build your own text adventure, which I think is really pretty cool because I spent hours with the stabby knife in Zork. You know the one I mean.
Yeah.
You go into the dark, you're likely to be eaten by a grue.
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to go play the adventure just for the adventure of it. I'm at the other end of the country. I doubt I'm ever going to get to Maine. But there's a Geochecker, so I can go see if I got the right answer.
Yeah, and I did play it a little bit to get a feel for it. And, I've found all but I think one of the numbers. And I just gave up at that point because I had to get back to work. But, it was a pretty cool little adventure. Now, GC Doc, did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, just like yours, I went through it all. I think it's a great idea, and I haven't seen anything like that. And I did the checker, and I was wrong. So I will go back and do it sometime. But like Chris said, I don't know if I'll ever make it out there to find it. Someday, maybe.
I'd love to go to Maine, and right now is probably the best time as we enter into fall. You get all the great fall foliage, and you can probably go tap your own maple tree and get syrup right out of it, because that's what you do in Maine, right? Along with some lobster. Okay.
Yeah, Maine
Well,
lobster.
now we've offended all our Maine listeners.
Yeah, well, though, what instantly came to mind with this was that Intercache.
Yes, I forgot about Intercache.
Yeah. So this, Intercache is basically like Where I Go, but for connected phones.
Mm-hmm.
Or, connected devices, not just phones. And we did do the show with him. And that's, again, it's that external website. Now, before we move on to the next piece of feedback here, Team Pugash did say in the Q&A that Chris, he loves your idea. Total the Shadow knows.
The Shadow knows. He goes on to say, everyone gets hung up on the second number. Oh, that's his number. His, not mine. Because, if I did, I would hang up on you. My whole call-in thing. Nope, sorry, bump. I just got hung up on. But I think that's his second number, not my second number. Okay. Let's move on to an email from the Kratz Family 5. So it kind of sounds like the Partridge Family 5. Kratz Family 5. I doubt they sing. I'm sure you have discussed this before, but I seem to run into this. What size is a micro, nano, small, regular, and large? Also, I have hidden a cache that is a fake squirrel in a tree. It has a film canister hidden inside of the drilled out body. What size would you consider this? Small or regular? Or is it unknown because the host is not the tree? Well, gentlemen?
The second part, I actually don't know the answer to that. That's a really good question. I never thought about that. I'll leave that to one of you guys to tackle. But what I'm planning on actually doing, if you've ever seen any of my YouTube videos, I'm just vlogging and finding caches, but I'm planning on doing this winter when I have some downtime is a little bit of a geocaching 101.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be actually bringing in some of my local cachers to join me in the videos, and they're the ones that are going to be teaching the viewers. So I was going to talk about this one, so I can kind of cover this. Kind of what I go with is, micro. Think of a micro as a film canister. Nanos obviously are the small containers, the tiny itsy bitsy ones. Smalls, I usually say if you can fit like a sandwich in it, is a small to me. And then a regular, I don't know why this is all food, but a regular, usually you can fit like a loaf of bread. So like ammo cans, you can fit a loaf of bread perfectly in an ammo can. And then large, I think of larges as a 5-gallon bucket. So that's kind of how I
bread product?
No bread. I can't think of a bread product. Maybe a bread maker, maybe.
King's Hawaiian bread.
There you go.
Now I'm hungry. Now I want a sandwich.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's an option. I have a geocache sitting in front of me that says geocache. What size is this?
I would
Medicine
say
bottle for those who can't.
Yeah, I would call that a micro.
I'd say micro.
See, I would say that's a small, but okay.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is that the sizes have kind of changed over the years, too.
Yes, I
So,
don't have any other containers around me.
yeah, by today's standards, that's borderline. A lot of people will call that a small, so you have to kind of take that into account. But I kind of went with now it is the film canister is the small, or is a micro rather. Anything bigger than that is kind of the small.
A micro
but I still,
to a bison tube.
Yeah, I try to be a little, that's one of my factors, though, is how wide is the opening.
Mm.
If the opening isn't wide enough that you can get a good size
sandwich
item in, at least a travel bug tag. If you can't get a travel bug tag into it, then I will not classify it as a small. It has to be a micro.
There you go. See, for me, a small is like half a sandwich.
Okay. Yeah. That's all relative to how big your sandwiches are, too, I guess.
And cut on the diagonal and the crust cut off.
Oh my! But I do.
I got him. I got Daryl tonight.
I do want to say that I would factor in the size of the actual cache container, not the camo, just the container. Because as someone looking for a place that I can put my travel bugs, there's nothing I hate more than getting that regular size file or cache listing, only to find out that the actual container itself is a film canister in this bigger thing.
Like in a birdhouse. But the actual cache itself is a film canister.
Yeah, and the birdhouse is not waterproofed or anything, so there's no way to leave it. Or I've actually seen some of those where they've like insulated, foam insulated it up so that you can't get the bugs and stuff invading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Native Texan also says that she thinks a small would have to be big enough to put a geocoin in.
Well, there you go. Okay, I agree with that.
So there's a couple good guidelines. Is can you put in at least the travel bug tag and or a geocoin, and that's your kind of gauge for the difference between
Daryl, what are we talking with a geocoin? Did you see the geocoin we're giving away tonight?
Well, that's true.
The thing's a
nocturnal geocoin is not going to fit, and I have seen coins that aren't really they are trackable, but they're not real geocoins. They're like manhole covers that were converted, but they are the size of manhole covers.
I would hope someone wouldn't put that in a cache.
Now, Jamie in the live Q&A said that the container that you held up does look to be a small to her. So there again, it's really open to a lot of interpretation.
See, you got a coin this size.
Yeah.
It's as big as my palm. So that's quite a container you got to fit that in.
Yeah. Well, and we did geocoins for ourselves a while back where we specifically made them fit into a film canister. That was our target, and that's not easy to do. But with the proliferation of micros in the area, that was what we had to do if we wanted to drop. No, that's actually a different one. But yeah, something just like that. That's actually designed to fit into a film canister at all. And for anyone who's not watching the live video, which is almost everyone, the coin that he held up was a little MCCM coin, Motor City Cash Machine. Think of it more like a path tag than a coin. We don't have any tracking on it. It's just a little signature item that we drop in, but it's a little smaller than a path tag, but it's not just a round circle. So not a path tag, and it does have some problems because it isn't round. We find that there are a few that it will not fit into.
Interesting. Now, back to the question of what would you consider the size of the cache, of a fake squirrel with the cache drilled into the body. So that, as Daryl said, it's got to be the actual container, and I would list that as an unknown size.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing to do either. The unknown does kind of take care of everything. And one of the things when I'm finding it, if I see something that's a micro, I start looking for the things that are hanging. So if I'm looking for a micro and it ends up being that birdhouse or something, I might miss it because it's not what I'm looking for. I get into that mindset of looking for that size container.
I start looking for that size hiding spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is a good point. If you use the unknown, then you get to kind of skip all of that as well.
Yeah, as soon as I see unknown, I think, irregular cache size, irregular container size. Perhaps it's in something else,
on something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of those around here that I've come across lately are magnetic. So the log is actually the back of the magnet. It's blank paper surface. Yeah. So, how would you classify that at all? It's not a micro.
Don't put those on aluminum boxes. I tried that.
I think we need to take you back to a physics class.
Well, I didn't know the box was aluminum. I already submitted the location for the cache, put all the details in, then I went to go put it in and go, it doesn't stick. Oops. That box is big metal. It's got to be ferrous metal. No.
No. Not enough recon on your caching hides, huh?
Sorry. I actually walked around the whole box. I found a great spot. I want to put it right here. It's just my embarrassing cache story.
Team Pugash is weighing in the live Q&A that if it's a micro, he assumes that it's a bison, hide a key, or something of that sort.
See, now a hide a key, you could put a small coin in.
This is true.
Maybe we come up with a hide a coin container.
Hide a coin.
Yeah, something a little bit bigger that has enough room. It depends a lot on the key.
Trademark that already. That one's mine.
Okay, fine. That one's yours. I'll come up with my own.
Come up with a round metal magnetic container.
I'll do the hide a path tag.
I love it. Oh, there you go. Hide a tag.
Hide a tag.
There you could just put magnet up because path tags are magnetic.
They are, as evidenced by my little board here in the corner, which is a bunch of path tags held up by magnets.
Yeah.
Oh my! Well, guys, we are running kind of long.
In the Q&A, the Kratz Family 5 says thank you.
You're welcome.
They're listening tonight as we talk about them. Well, we talk about their cache hide. We don't know anything about them. I'm sure they're wonderful people.
Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to meet them somewhere.
Exactly. I wonder what part of the country they're in, because if they're in Maine, it'll be nice talking to them on the phone because I'll never go see them.
Do you have something against Maine? We're going to start a new rumor here that you have something against Maine.
Okay. I've offended everybody in Maine, so they're not going to allow me into the state.
Oh, that's why you're not going. It's not because you have something against them. They have something against you.
Get this. I'm offensiving.
You're offensiving. Excellent. Oh, my. Well, I think the Kratz family is probably used to that because they have the Chicago Geocachers podcast circled.
Yikes. Yeah, I have not offended them in the least then.
No. You'll have to try a little harder.
Okay. Next week, I'm going to try to find a way to offend you. Send some feedback so I've got something to work with. Otherwise, I have to do some light internet stalking, and that gets really embarrassing. Do we have anything else to talk about?
Well, we do have other stuff to talk about, but I think we're running a little long, so why don't we wrap this one up? So before we do, GC Doc, why don't you give us a refresher on where to find your stuff?
Of course. Well, I'm mostly on YouTube I make YouTube videos on geocaching. So you can go to youtube.com/thegcdoc, but I'm also on Facebook at facebook.com/thegcdoc, Twitter at thegcdoc. What else am I on? Instagram, and that's the GC Doc as well, and also Google+. So pretty simple. Just type in the GC Doc, you'll be able to find me.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and Team Pugash says stop hating on Maine. But we're not done. We need to announce the winner of the live drawing. Do we know who the winner of the live drawing is?
Oh, I was just told who the winner of the live drawing.
Hold on, I'm getting news now.
Yeah. Little birdie's telling me right now. And that winner was Tangent.
Nice. Congratulations,
Tangent. Yes.
And remember, you need to email your physical mailing address to geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com to claim the prize. Otherwise, we're just going to take a picture of it and send you the picture because we don't know how else to get it to you. And then we get to keep the coin. So if you don't send that in, it's a really nice coin. I kind of want to keep it myself, but go ahead and send us your email or your mailing address. We'll send that off to you. And everyone will want to get another email ready. You know how many emails we're talking about you having to send us? A lot. You want to send it to the same address. In case you forgot, that's geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com. But this time, you need to entitle it Question 146. And we want some examples from you, our fellow GeoGearheads, about what geocaches you've hidden or perhaps found that were in poor locations. Perhaps it's a location where a cache should not have been placed or a container that didn't belong there. Either way, describe that to us and tell us why you don't think it was appropriate. We don't need the GC number or even its listing service because we don't want to embarrass anybody here. Well, okay, I do, but Daryl doesn't because he's the good cop. And we'll take some of those examples and use them in next week's show. And one of you who submits an example will get a prize from coinsandpins.com. But we need those in by 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, October 15th. You know what? We'll even wait until 1 a.m. UTC on the 16th, which is the same as the other times, in case you didn't know that. So make sure you have an example with your geocaching.com screen name in the body and title it Question 146 and get that to us at GeoGearHeads at cacheamaniacs.com. Cacheamaniacs.com. I did say that, right? By 6 p.m. Pacific on the 15th. And all that is just for next week's show.
But we're not done with this week's release yet. The GC Doc, the Bad Cop, and I will be recording a bonus show just for our patrons in a moment. That one, we may have to express some thanks here. So let's say thank you to Billy Robson, Going Caching Crew, Jersey Eric, Jinta29, Kid Vegas, Kitty Cash, Native Texan, Team Pugach, Suchman, Wazong, Wet Coaster, and all 30 of the GeoGearHeads patrons. Not only did they reach the monthly funding level last week, where we're able to cover the expenses and enable us to run without any more of those episode sponsors, but this week they've pledged at a level to enable us to get our own GeoGearHeads.com host. So hopefully next month we'll be able to buy that hosting package and start moving to a new website. Everything will still be at cacheamaniacs.com, but we'll have a dedicated site just for this show. But more than that, yeah. But more than that, it's this financial support that helps us bring all of these shows to you every week. So again, thank you, patrons, from all the GeoGearHeads. If you would like to become a patron with your monthly contribution to help keep the Cacheamaniacs shows coming, visit GeoGearHeads.com and click on the Patreon link in the navigation bar. Once you sign up with either a credit card or PayPal account, you can be whatever you can afford and think our shows are worth. If you don't think our shows are worth a donation, don't send us anything. But you'll have access to all that bonus content through the Patreon site. And thanks for considering the donation and for listening and spreading the word to fellow geocachers about the GeoGearHeads.
Now, we have some great shows coming up. So even if you donate, you're still going to get these great shows. Maybe we toss in a little more afterwards, but you're going to get these great shows. Next week, we're talking about appropriate placements. October 23rd, we're looking at 3D printing. October 30th, we got another one of these great randomized shows, which means we're going to give away more stuff. So you need to watch those live. November 6th, we're talking about pocket queries. And November 13th, we're going to do our second episode on puzzles.
Check the Cacheamaniacs website at cacheamaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by calling 206-350-3647, by emailing geogearheads at cacheamaniacs.com, or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cacheamaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cacheamaniacs shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Safenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2014 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cache with the Cacheamaniacs.